Hello, and welcome to another episode of the M42 Adventures Podcast. I am your host, Rick Trimmer, and today I actually have an amazing gentleman. His name is Adam Davis. He was actually referred to me through the Jeff Forrester podcast that I did with him. He actually coached and mentored Jeff Forrester on writing his book. This gentleman, Adam Davis, has written, I believe it's 10 books, 10 books going on to 11. So that shows you right there just how motivated and crazy he is. He's been on Good Morning America, done lots of cool stuff. And I'm excited to jump into this conversation. There's not a lot of people who have written 10 or 11 books. And so I know this one's going to be good right out of the get-go. So let's jump into this conversation with Adam Davis. I don't know much about it, so I just talk.
I hear you. That's about all I do.
That's good, man. So yeah, we did a podcast yesterday, and it was with, who was that with again, Chase?
Jeff Forrester.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Jeff Forrester. Yeah, I got to get my notes here. So we did a podcast yesterday with Jeff Forrester, and he just kept raving about you, saying, hey, you got to talk to this guy. And so Chase obviously reached out immediately, and you were kind enough to jump on it. So I appreciate people like that. That's how I am. I get things done. I like that mentality. And so I sincerely appreciate you taking some time and telling us your story. So tell me about Adam Davis. I hear there's a lot to unwrap here.
You know, I'm first and foremost, I'm a husband. September of this year marked 25 years. We got married when we were 18. And
wow. Love it.
I'm the father of three nearly grown children, 21, 19, and 16. And I've been a business owner, entrepreneur for a decade now. October 1st to be 10 years since I left law enforcement. I've written, just finished my 10th book, more than 250,000 sales. I've been a coach and consultant to hundreds of people, helped more than 130 people with their books. And everybody from therapists and doctors of psychology, FBI agents, military, like crazy cool stories, prisoners of war, you name it. So I've helped a lot of people in that regard. So I think the greatest question is who am I? I've got a lot of scars and wounds from life, like most every person, if they're going to be honest with you. But I'm here, and I'm blessed, and I'm grateful. And I think we have to be very careful with the words we follow with I am, and not to be weird or wonky, but I think that there's power in our words. And so I am grateful. That's who I am. How about that?
I love it, man. That is a great, if that doesn't, set it up for a great podcast, I don't know what does. So I appreciate you being on here. So you were in the military, right? You were...
Nope, never had a
just
chance.
Law enforcement.
I tried. Yeah, I'm just a cop, and I tried for 5 years to get into the military, but I had hearing loss in my left ear, and apparently it was bad enough for them to say no.
No kidding.
Permanently disqualify me. My dream,
Mm-hmm.
my dream in high school was to join the Marine Corps and go in infantry, and I tried for a long time. And
what made that dream? What made you, why are you so patriotic? Why did you have that passion at such a young age?
There's always been a pull to fight. There's always been a pull to serve and to fight. And I mean, look, at 8, at that age, as a teenager, I was just gung ho, man. I wanted to go and fight, and that's all I wanted to do. I love my country. I grew up around a family that, I was taught to honor and respect, veterans and first responders. And my dad had, he's been a business owner for 40 something years now. And growing up working with him, he had a lot of, friends that were law enforcement and military. And so and I have grandparents who are veterans. They passed on, but that's the way I was raised, deep South Alabama. And you honor that flag, and you honor the men and women who serve for that flag in whatever regard. And so it was just what I wanted to do. I mean, I grew up, playing Rambo in the backyard and, dressing up in camo as a kid. And that's what I always wanted to do. I guess God had different plans, but I think the coolest thing, man, is, sometimes we have to bury our dreams to find the real passion and real purpose that we were created for. And I got a book that I co-authored a few years ago with a guy named Chad Robichaux. He's a former Force Recon Marine, MMA champion fighter. Great dude. He's done a lot of work with a group called Save Our Allies and Tim Kennedy and all those cats, man. A great, great group of human beings. But we co-authored a book called Behind the Lines, and it's a daily devotion for military. And it's been used by the Marine Corps chaplaincy on both boot camps on both coasts.
Wow.
And I just think it's wild how I've been able to partner with other people to reach a group of men and women with a message that'll
You're still
encourage
serving
them.
the military, and you
So
still found a way to get in there and help.
And co-authored 4 other books with a retired lieutenant colonel from the Army, who's a retired Army Ranger, paratrooper, and professor of psychology at West Point, and overall incredible human who's greatly, greatly admired and respected among military and law enforcement ranks. And I've had quite a bit of help from some really cool friends along the way. I mean, Marcus Luttrell wrote the foreword for my last book that released in 23.
Wow.
And Tim Kennedy endorsed it. Chad Robichaux endorsed it. And, of course, Colonel Grossman endorsed it. And Phil Robertson, who just passed away, endorsed it.
Sad
and
deal.
Al. So,
That's amazing.
I've had a lot.
I'm gonna need to get a copy of that. I'm gonna have Chase, if you'll reach out and we'll can I get a signed one from you and have
Absolutely.
I want to pay for it. I love to support it and support people. I never want a freebie, but I definitely want to read it.
It's a heavy read, man. It's
good. Good, man. Those are the ones I like.
It's one that I regretted writing after I turned it into the publisher.
Interesting.
Because I kind of bare my soul in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't just tell the things that happened to me. It's framed around something I created called the Unconquered Code. The whole brand is Live Unconquered. So the concept is framed around the Unconquered Code, but I don't just talk about what happened to me. I talk about what I've done and some things that, a lot of people would say I wouldn't tell everything and wouldn't share that. And I did, because it's in our vulnerability where we create opportunities for people to find their own personal breakthroughs. We go through things and we feel like we're the only ones going through that stuff, and, for a long time, I felt like I thought I was the only person dealing with this junk. And then I start talking about it from stages, and oh my goodness, man, the people coming out of the shadows of trauma and pain and their past mistakes is crazy. And so
that's interesting. Do you know Trevor Farnes? Have you heard of him with Mountain Ops?
I've heard of him. I don't know him.
Okay, I had him on a couple months ago, and he wrote a book called The Conquer Code.
Really?
And so it's a very interesting way that because I know his way is putting like, let's conquer, let's go get it. Yours is like, let's not get conquered. Mm-hmm. So I love that kind of play on words there, where it's so similar, it's similar titles, but completely different meanings. I love that.
Absolutely. There's
I love that.
This was born around the concept was born around a bonfire. My wife and I and my brother and his wife were sitting around a bonfire, probably 2019, somewhere around that time frame. And I'd been given a talk called Sheepdog Unconquered. And the Live Unconquered concept was born. My sister-in-law looked at me. She said, there's 2 words that I think they're Latin. And she said, really defines who you are after everything that you've been through from childhood and throughout. And she said the words are Semper Invictus, and it means always undefeated. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know about that, man. Like, I don't know. Like, I got some pretty deep scars, and being very transparent, I probably still have some baggage I carry, not as much as I used to.
Yeah, I think we all do.
I was on my way home from an event up in Forest Lake, Minnesota, in January of 21. I think it was January 21. And I was on the plane. We were at cruising altitude coming back, and this concept hit me, and I was like, yeah, sexual abuse, rape, crazy manipulation, and spiritual, emotional, physical abuse, you name all the stuff, alcoholism, suicidal ideation attempts. But I'm still here. Like, I still have a heartbeat. I'm still here. So yeah, you can have battles. You can have moments where you fail. But if you get back up, you're still in the fight.
You're
And that's what
unconquered.
matters. And so,
Yeah.
and then even through death, if you live the right way and you do the right things, even in death, you win. And it just takes on a different mindset. You get to the point to where when you look past the lens of all that you've done wrong or all that's happened to you, you see it differently. Like, you begin to detach from the needs of material things and real desires. Like, I have a bunch of friends all across the country who, man, they have a lot of really cool toys and they got a lot of nice things, and that's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. But I've reached a place of contentment that is dangerous, because I think a certain degree of drive comes from acquiring more, And so I'm having to navigate a new source of the drive. It's never been about more stuff. It's about more impact and more influence to see positive change in people's lives. And so navigating that kind of adjustment and that detachment from stuff is, it brings you to a level of freedom that's very dangerous, when you no longer genuinely care what people think about you, and you don't need their validation. I don't need your approval. And I don't mean that sounding like a jerk. And I really don't crave more stuff, but I want more time with the people I love the most. That's what I want the most, is more time.
Yeah, I love that. That you're speaking my language, man. So a little bit about, do you know anything about me at all? Not to make it about me, but just so you know where I'm coming from.
No.
So I lost everything. I had built the company up, lost everything in the recession, built it back up. I mean, I was homeless. I was literally lost my home and my vehicles, and I had a new baby, built it back up, and then I sold everything I sold 65% of my business in 2016. And I've been traveling the world for the last 9 years, 8.5 years with my wife and kids. 73 countries.
That is incredible, man.
Yeah, kind of a wild story.
And you'd never left the country until you were 36.
I'd never left the country. I'd been to like Alaska and Hawaii.
Oh, yeah,
but never
Yeah.
Mexico.
Not the mass of America.
Yeah. So my first, you'll love this, the top of my bucket list, because I grew up, my dad was in the military. He was in the Army. He passed away at age 28 on base in El Paso, Texas, from a brain aneurysm.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always been, my mom, I mean, anytime she sees a flag flying, she, tears run down her face. She was pregnant with me when he died. And so those are my heroes. I started a clothing line in 2012 called Undaunted Apparel, where we donate 10% back to military charities, first responders. We've donated thousands and thousands. It's still in business today. And so I'm very patriotic. My top of my bucket list was Normandy, France. So I got my wife and 2 kids. We bought a one-way ticket to Paris, rented a car, drove out to Plagesnow, which is about an hour from Normandy. We spent a week there. And that was my first time out of the country. And that was 8.5 years ago.
Wow.
Haven't worked since. I still have some businesses. I've started 14 businesses. So I still have ownership of them, and I check the financials and stuff a couple hours a month, but I don't work.
Yeah.
And so you're speaking directly to me when you say, it's like I was one of those guys that had the big truck, the big house, fancy watches, and I was like, this isn't happiness. This isn't.
No.
This does not translate to happiness. I want to go and I want to spend time with my grandparents, my parents who have come all over the world with us now. We just got back. Actually, where are you at in Alabama? We just went to Mobile.
Mobile, Alabama is where I went to police academy. I'm on the opposite end, southeast Alabama, about 90 minutes away from Panama City Beach.
Okay. So yeah, we actually stayed in Mobile, Alabama, and then we went over and stayed in Destin, Rosemary Beach, Panama City Beach.
That's my day trip spots right there.
Dude, nice. I love it. So yeah, we just road tripped the US for a few months, went to Costa Rica for a month, but that's my life, is get away from the material possessions.
Yeah.
And so that's where I started. Do you know Ryan Mickler? Have you heard of Ryan Mickler with Order of Man? So he helped me start this. He's a partner in on this.
Really?
Yep. So
I'd love to meet that dude.
I can make it happen,
He's
man. I can make
he's
it
a
happen
good
for
dude.
sure. We can do it for sure.
I tell you, you know, somebody is like, you know, if you had all the money in the world, actually, my wife was asking me because we're rapidly approaching like an empty nester phase of life, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
and she was like, "What are your hobbies? Like, what do you do?" I was like, "There's nobody I would rather spend my time. Like, I don't have bro nights. I don't care about doing stuff like you are. Like, I have been with you longer than I lived with my parents as a child. You know, we have been husband and wife for 25 years. We got married at 18. So,
yeah, what are you, 40?
And 43.
43.
Yeah,
I just turned 45, so we're about the same.
And I was like, well, she was like, "What are your hobbies? Like, what do you like?" And I'm like, "I love to travel. I love like to places I want to go, and or I've got a purpose to be there, you know." And so we've set this thing where, as long as weather permitting, we're going to go because the beach is an hour and a half away, and so we're going to take a day during the week, like Wednesday, just no calls on Wednesday, no coaching calls, no client calls. We're going to go sit on the beach for 3 or 4 hours. We're going to have just time to ourselves. And man, it's like the most beautiful beaches in the entire world.
Well, they are. My wife wants to move to Rosemary Beach.
It is so perfect. And so we like to go there and do that. But traveling is our jam. So we're trying to figure out what we're going to do for our 25th anniversary coming up in the fall. And neither one of us have ever been out of the country. Furthest west I've ever been to was LA, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I can help you, man. I can help you. I like I said, I've been doing it. My kids, my 10-year-old has been to 73 countries.
That is crazy, man.
We just got back. We just got back a week ago. Yeah, I mean, everybody asks that kind of. You know, mostly it's just world school.
Yeah,
I don't make them. You know, I make them read business.
I like how you put that.
Yeah, like I'm gonna have them read your book. You know, I'll have my 13-year-old read your books because I don't.
There's a discllaimer in that one. So
tell me which ones.
No,
you've got 11 of them. So
we homeschool. I say we. My wife. My wife is a freaking hero of the whole thing, man. She homeschooled our kids since since our youngest was in the first grade. So, and he's in the 11th. So 10 years. And so at least 10 years she's been homeschooling, and I was so against that in the beginning. And then I started seeing more stuff as a law enforcement officer. I'm like, absolutely, do whatever you got to do. Like, so, I mean, I had a truck at the time. I let the truck go just so I could just eliminate, you know, unnecessary spending. I did what I had to do to make a way for her to be able to do that. You know, she no longer worked a job that produced income. She works. And, I mean, if it wasn't for her, I couldn't do what I do, you know, just her support and her love. And, she keeps me in line, man. Like she is, she went with me to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho earlier this year. Man, that place was absolutely beautiful.
Hey, I've never been. I've heard it's nice.
Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, and man, there was so much snow up there, more snow than we've ever seen in our life.
Oh, yeah.
We did get about a foot here this year, which is the most that's ever fell
snowing
here.
on the beach in Panama City.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I was there just a couple months later, and it's 80 degrees, and I'm like, no way there was snow here.
There was a lot of snow, man. Gulf Shores had almost a foot down there.
Wow.
But anyway, we like to travel. It's kind of like, and then you go somewhere like, I do something here at home in Dothan, and like a handful of people have started finding out, oh my gosh, this dude's been on Good Morning America. He's written books. He's touched more than 1 million lives with his message. And, but most people just don't know and don't care, and that's okay. I'm like, in the beginning, it irritated me, kind of hurt my feelings, but it's good because I can go in public and it's good. I go to Nashville, people wait in line an hour and a half to get my books, or to get into an event, or I go to Atlantic City and people stand in line for 7 hours, you know, at a book table, and it's pretty cool seeing the things that have happened in the lives and the message. Oh, very much. I feel about that small because you realize this isn't about me. It's not about my name or my platform. It's about those families who are being ripped apart by generational curses. You know, I'm a fourth generation survivor of childhood sexual abuse, but I'm a first generation curse breaker. And that's our job as men, is to find out what those things are that we've inherited or that we carry, and eliminate it, terminate that stuff, and do whatever you got to do that. because if we don't deal with our junk, we pass it down to our kids. And, we talk about how much we love our kids. We love them enough to work a job and make money and have retirement and blah, blah, blah. It's great. You can lose it all in the blink of an eye, man. Like you can work for a company 20 years and then 2 weeks before retirement, they can you and you lose everything.
Absolutely.
And so do the things that really matter, break the curses so they can live free and truly live an unconquered life. I was talking to my wife recently and I was like, talking to the kids, I was like, hey, I've intentionally just showed you who I am as a raw human being. Like I've intentionally exposed my imperfections and my flaws to you. We live in the Bible Belt. In the Bible Belt, you got to dress nice on Sunday. You got to go to church. You got to have this, sing a few songs and listen to a good sermon. And it's all about behavior modification. You don't cuss, you don't drink, you don't smoke, you don't go to the bars and the honky tonks. And you don't ever reveal your struggles because we have to put on this mask and pretend that we've got it all under wraps. And the reality is none of us do. None of us do. Like none of us truly know what the hell we're doing, especially as dads, man. And so I said, I've shown you my very weakest points because I want you to see that faith isn't about how strong you can be. It's about understanding that in your weakness, your faith is made incredibly strong. You got to have the courage to take a step of faith every day to do something that challenges you and pull you out of your comfort zone. And I think, there's so much depth. Like this book should have been probably, 900 pages or so. My story's not finished. And the story's still being written. And there's things I need to write another version of this and include,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Who am I to build a business and generate 7 figures over a few years? And my 20s completely bankrupt and destitute on welfare, on food stamps with a wife who's bedridden and pregnant with our 3rd child, no income and nothing, man, nothing. I had 12 jobs before 2009 when I got into law enforcement. And a lot of that I don't make excuses, but I attribute it to the fact that I was so screwed up from what happened to me as a kid and as a teenager. I didn't know my purpose and I was looking for fulfillment. I was looking for what made me feel like a man and made me feel whole, and none of that junk will do it if you don't ever have the balls to stand up and fight back against the stuff that's tried to kill you, and really get a hold of it. And so you can show up for your family, so you can show up for your wife and for your kids, for your family, for your friends, and be 100% of who you're supposed to be. Like this light, like 100-watt light bulb, man. Most of us have been assigned a certain degree of light that we're supposed to shine, and we're shining about 10% of that.
Right.
And we allow all the pain, all the struggle, all the trouble to keep us from showing up 100% of who we really are and being authentic in it because we're afraid people are going to reject us or whatever. So anyway.
And that's, that, like you were saying before. So, I leave in about 2 weeks and I head to Hawaii. And there's 15 men going. We're going hunting, axis deer, bow hunting, axis deer. Ryan Mickler's going, his son's going. Just a bunch of high level men, And it's a beautiful environment. You're there to hunt. That's what draws us.
That's
but
right.
The value I get is around the campfire and sitting out on the deck.
Oh man.
And having these conversations with these men that are. Do you know Brandon Lilly? Do you know Brandon Lilly by chance?
Sounds really
he's with
familiar.
Sorenex. He's with Sorenex. He was a bodybuilder. He's coming out, but
okay.
I had him on the podcast and similar, like you're saying, similar background. Johans, what was his last name?
Johans Bolden.
Bolden. He's got a
traveling man.
Yeah, the travel man. You should look into him.
That's awesome.
We are Warpath.
Yeah,
and then there's a podcast. It's the Completely Unreasonable podcast, but great dude.
But you see these men that are just giants and they're, physically and, tatted up and all these different things. And you look at them and think, man, they got it all together. And we have these conversations around the campfire and Brandon, he talks openly about it, about how he had a pistol in his mouth,
Yep. Yeah.
And Johans as well. He was going to take his life, and that's what I think is so good for people to hear that are struggling, that are going through this stuff, that it's like, you're not alone.
Yeah.
And you can come out the other side, but you got to find your purpose. You got to let, like I was saying, when I lost everything and was homeless and it was me and my wife, sitting around table trying to figure out what we're going to do, it's like, man, what really matters here? You know, what it breaks you down to where you're embarrassed, you're shell, you know, just lots of the bad stuff. But as you come out of that, you find your, you know, your North Star. And so, yeah, it's a powerful thing. And I think people like you who put themselves, I didn't want to do a podcast. You know, when I came to Ryan, I've been traveling, I'm retired. I still don't have to work. I have passive income. And I says, hey man, I think I want to help people. I think I can help people. I think that, people should travel. They should get outside. They should, you know, turn off their screens and interact. And he says, well, let's start a business, you know, let's start a business together. And so we started this up, and I says, I don't want to be, you know, my social media for the last 8.5 years while I was traveling was private. You know, I wasn't trying to, you know, get sponsors or accolade or anything. It's like, I just want to be with my wife and kids in the moment, playing on the beach or playing at the park. But Ryan says, hey, for you to change the world, for you to help people, you have to put yourself out there. And that's what I really appreciate about people like you and Brandon and Johans and all these people that I've had on that are willing to say, hey, you know, because it is hard as a man. I remember when I lost everything and I was starting to earn it back, I'd go hang out with my friends, and they're like, hey, you moved? And I'm like, yeah, I sold my house. I didn't sell it. The bank took it. You know, they're like, oh, you got a new vehicle? You're driving an old truck? And I had a, you know, $70,000 Dodge. And I'm like, yeah, I sold it. No, they came with a tow truck and hooked onto that thing and drug it down
Been there,
the street.
bro. Been there.
And, you know,
It's a shame. You
it's
know?
just complete shame. And I
it's
was
so-
still not secure enough to admit it.
Yeah.
And then once I started having these conversations and some age and maturity, it's like, well, he's going through that too. I can get little pieces and little pieces. And once I started saying, I was a broken shell of a man, I was broke, you know, it was like they start, hey, I've had that, I feel that. And it's like, hey, instead of judging everybody, let's just help each other.
Just listen. Yeah.
Just listen.
Yeah.
And so that's what I love about, I want to get back. So you got out of high school, couldn't get into the military, got into law enforcement. You did that for how long?
I got in law enforcement in 2009.
Okay.
And started off on night shift patrol.
Mm-hmm.
And
when did you write your first book? I mean, how long ago was that? You've written 11, so I mean.
Well, I'm
10.
I'm working on number 11. I've written 10.
Okay.
The first two were self-published. I don't talk about them.
Yeah.
And then
We'll just leave those out.
Yeah, but you know, the first book I wrote was a few months after I sat in the patrol car with a gun to my head. And you know, we can go through all that. I don't mind talking about it.
Yeah, you've been there
I'm happy
too.
to get through. So, it was a few months after that, because that day when I got out of the patrol car and I went and found my wife, we had a conversation. Like I'd been drinking pretty heavy leading up to that day, every night.
Why did you have a gun? Why?
So,
you know, why?
You know,
what got you there?
The long story, or the short story.
Yeah. Right.
is,
Right.
So when I was a little boy, my mom and dad divorced, which is not uncommon. I mean, like 50% of marriages at the time ended in divorce. I don't know if it's still the same. They divorced when I was probably 5. And then I'll never forget the day seeing the U-Haul trailer behind his truck drive away. And I'm like, I wish I was with him. But I always loved my dad, still do. He's still one of my best friends. I don't talk to him as much as I should. But anyway, mom and dad divorced, and she left me with a neighbor who was an older male, no family member, no relation, just a neighbor. And I started off pretty normal, you know. And I'll blow through this stuff pretty quick because it can be, it can set some people off. And it started off pretty normal. And then one day he popped a VHS tape into a VCR. I guess I was 5 the first time I saw hardcore porn. And, you know, there's certain scenes that he would rewind and repeat, rewind and repeat, and, you know, and then it wasn't long after that, he started doing the things that they were doing on these videos. He started doing it to me. And, I think that probably, that screwed me up a lot. I got to the point I couldn't control bowel movements, and I got to the point to where I developed like a speech impediment. And so my mom would take me to these doctors and try to figure out why this was going on, and take me to therapists about speech therapy, and nobody picked up on anything. I mean, I come from a culture, like a time, the generation where, if stuff happened like that, you don't talk about it. We keep it to ourselves, and so I rolled on, and she remarried a Pentecostal preacher. So I grew up going to church. I say this at my events when I'm live on a stage jokingly. I grew up going to church like 13 days a week, because we were there all the freaking time, dude, all the time, man. And so I know what church is about, the business side of it, and the attendee side of it. And then at 15, I was left with another babysitter who was a leader in the church, a married woman in her 30s. So she was one of the singers, and so when I was being dropped off at her house, she'd make me strawberry daiquiris with Bacardi, and we'd have sex all night, off and on all night. And it was like, hey, you're part of God's plan for my healing. You're here for a reason. Like, it was, there was a lot of things that were grooming before that. I didn't understand it at the time. It's taken me decades of talking to people who are very, very smart when it comes to stuff like that, forensic psychologists, that specialize in child abuse and things of that nature. So that ended when I was 16, because I got a vehicle, and it was a complete chick magnet. It was a 93 Geo Metro hatchback, mint green, 5-speed. Got like 65 miles to a gallon, like a V2, man. It had 2 cylinders. And so I started going to a different church, and
could
something
escape,
happened.
literally.
Yeah, I could, literally. That created some contention, because I live with my mother, and that created some contention there. And one night, on a Wednesday night, I had broke it off with this lady. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, she was upset because I had a girlfriend in high school, and I'm like, well, you're married, so we're even. And it was so screwed up, so incredibly screwed up. Called my dad. I locked my keys in my car. Called my dad. He showed up in the wrecker tow truck, come over and brought the kit. And I jumped in. I locked the door, and I was like, hey, I'm in trouble. I need your help. It was like, that's why I'm here. I'm like, no. And then I told him everything I just told you, but more graphic detail. And he was angry, is probably the best word, but there's got to be a more graphic way to describe what he was feeling. But I remember the words he said. He said, I've got to move to protect you. And that's been almost 30 years. And I remember it like it was yesterday. And so he did. He moved to protect me. And nobody was ever charged. Nobody was ever faced any criminal charges or anything like that. They swept it under the rug. Church hid it, pretended nothing ever happened, and treated everybody just like they were BFFs. And I started staying with Dad a lot more. And then at 18, I got married. We graduated high school in May of 2000. In September, we got married. We've been married this year 25 years, and we have 3 incredible, all of them are almost grown kids. But when we got married, like, I don't regret getting married. I don't regret marrying her at 18. I don't regret marrying her, period. What I regret is the fact that she was cheated because she didn't get a whole man. Because I told her what happened to me, but I didn't tell her, like, neither one of us knew how it affected me. Like, my perspective of trust, of faith, of church, of relationships, of sex, of intimacy. I was so screwed up. I probably packed my bags to leave once a week that first year, because anytime conflict rose up, I wanted to run, I wanted to hide, because I never was taught how to deal with that stuff in a healthy manner, because it just wasn't. And she stuck with me. So I started off working in high school, my 11th grade year, going to school half a day, working half a day, and bullcrap like that, working in a laundromat or whatever, dry cleaners, banks, and then graduated high school working at a bank, and then moved on to construction, and then got into pest control, sold cars, sold insurance, and then got into pest control right before our first child was born in 2004. And then I was just like, man, this ain't it. I did that until 2009, and probably about 6 years I did that, and then got into law enforcement and felt like this is where I'm supposed to be. And all that stuff that happened from my childhood really was never fully addressed. Right before our first son was born, I started this process where, like, reflecting on who I was. Like, can I be a dad?
Hmm.
I'm thinking, like, I don't know, like, anything about being a dad, man. I don't know nothing about it. And there was something inside of me that just kept, like, it was irritating. And I was trying to analyze and reflect on the inside, become more aware, like, what is this? And it was straight up pure old fashioned hatred for the people who hurt me and the people who condoned it, everybody involved. And so I started this process where I wanted to forgive them, because I knew that from stories I'd heard, you can't really be a good dad unless you forgive. You can't be a good person unless you forgive, because you carry that stuff and it turns into this poison that eats away at you. And so I
Yeah,
started
there's
the process of forgiveness.
what's that saying that says, uh, drinking, it's like drinking poison and wishing for the other person to die.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No,
I
that's
guess
kind of how that goes. Yeah.
It's something like that, where it's such a
Like
profound,
hatred is
yeah,
you know,
anger,
it doesn't work. It's like locking yourself into a prison cell, and you've got the key. Like, you
Yeah.
have access to forgiveness, but instead of using it to set yourself free, you throw it through the bars as far as you can, and then complain about being a prisoner to it.
Yeah.
And so I started the process. I didn't know nothing. I mean, even growing up in church, I didn't know how to forgive. Like, they talked about it. They tell you to do it. You read the verses about it in the Bible, but nobody really taught you how to forgive, man. And so I started like this: Dear God, I forgive them. Amen. Still want to kill them. I need to do that again because it didn't work.
Right.
And then you have to do it. And so for me, forgiveness is, for me, based on my belief system, forgiveness is an act of faith, in a step, an act of obedience. So it's a step of faith. Like, you don't know how it's going to work out. You don't know how it's possible to do this. But really the key to freedom was when I realized that the forgiveness was more about the benefits that I was going to receive than it was about them. Like, I never
Absolutely.
confronted them, never had to confront them, never had to deal with them. Just do it in here, and understand that it's going to set you free.
Absolutely.
And so I started that, and then, but it wasn't thoroughly addressed, because there's, like, it's complex post-traumatic stress or complex trauma. And I didn't understand that term at the time, didn't even know it. And so I get into law enforcement, and I think the point where I started to spiral, which it doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me, and it may not make any sense to anybody else, but this is my story and this is what happened. There was I was a hostage negotiator. Now, I wasn't in charge or anything like that, but there was a man who went onto a school bus, and he walked in with a gun, and he told the bus driver's name was Chuck Poland, Charles Chuck Poland, went by Chuck. And he walked in and said, Chuck, I'm here to take one of you kids off the bus. And the bus driver said, you're not taking one of my kids. So he shot and killed him in front of a busload full of kids. And that was recorded on, closed circuit TV, the cameras that was in the bus. And, you see all the kids responding to it. So he grabs the first kid on the bus, who was an autistic little 5-year-old blonde hair, blue eyed boy, and takes him into an underground bunker he had been preparing. Wasn't long after that, SWAT arrived, officers arrived, and then SWAT officers first, and then SWAT arrived. And then we were called out, our negotiations team. And then a few hours after that, feds are there. You got agencies from all over the place are there. And then by nightfall, you got media from all over the country lined up across the street. My job was to sit and watch the video, because they had a phone that they dropped in, SWAT dropped into the bunker underground, so that he could call and talk and give his demands or whatever, Well, it had audio and visual. And so my job was to sit and listen and watch and take notes and pass along to my supervisors, who would pass along to BAU and Quantico. And at some point during that week-long ordeal, I saw this little boy sitting on the ground in this bunker, and I don't remember if he was playing or drawing or coloring or whatever, but my brain made this connection between this little boy, who is alive. He lived. He was rescued, and this little boy and me. And that sounds so stupid and self-centered. I know it is, and it shouldn't have bothered me. But I'd go home, I'd wake my kids up and I'd hold them in my arms as tight as I could. And I'd go lay down and wake up and my side of the bed be just drenched and covered in sweat. And started drinking really heavy after that. And I lied to my supervisors. You know, we had a debriefing a few weeks after it ended. And they were like, "Hey, is everybody good?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, we're good, man." Because I knew if I said something, my pay would be cut and I'd be put on leave. They'd take my badge and take my gun. I wouldn't tell them nothing. But I was spiraling out of control. And sometime later, I don't remember how long, but sometime later, this probably rocked on. That was in January, I think, of 2013, if I remember correct. And that probably rocked on about a year and a half. Me drinking like on a mission to numb everything and to find some degree of hope or life or something. And I come home one day from my shift and I taken my shirt off and my vest off. I had my undershirt on and taking my duty belt off, still had my boots on. I sat down in a recliner and stared at a blank TV in the living room, just empty, man, just completely numb, completely empty, no emotion whatsoever.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, let's step away from this conversation real quick and talk about a few things we have going on with M42 Adventures and the Genesis. So, as you know, M42 Adventures, we are doing a lot of adventures and taking people on a lot of cool experiences. We just got back from Costa Rica surfing. We are headed to Hawaii. We are headed to Alaska this summer. All sold out, all done. But if you want to get in there and see how you can come on some of these adventures, you can sign up for the Genesis. It's our online community. Go to m42adventures.com. It's completely free, and it's an amazing thing. We have over 250 members now. We actually just did our 250 member giveaway, where we're bringing a husband and wife out to Southern Utah to stay at Elevation 40 Zion, a Airbnb here in Southern Utah. And we're going to go ride UTVs and shoot guns and go hiking and cook an amazing dinner with a private chef on an open fire. So lots of amazing things happening there. We're helping a lot of people. There's financial mentorship. There's mental health. It's not just outdoors and adventure. There's also fitness, things like that. So if you're interested in any of that and you don't want to have to pay for it, you can come into the Genesis and sign up. We'd love to see you in there. Stay tuned for more announcements. Again, we have a newsletter where we send out a lot of information and you can sign up for that as well. All right, let's get back to this conversation.
No conscience.
Was you sober?
Yeah, I was sober. Oh yeah, I was sober
Okay,
then. I just come home. Yeah, I just got
Okay.
off and my wife was standing behind me at the little kitchen island and she turned the water off and she had been washing her hands or something. She turned the water off and she said, "Hey babe, how was your day?" And I could still hear her voice to this day. And I responded in a way that was the tone. It wasn't so much the word, but it was one word. And all I said was one word, but it had to be the tone. You know, I come in, I didn't say anything. I just plopped down. And I said, "Fine," you know. And that day there was a guy that had taken a 12-gauge shotgun and ended his life, put it under his chin, a little girl that had been raped, and then just the admin stuff you deal with, you know. And it, like that day, it took everything I had just to get home. And like, I don't want to live through this again. I don't want to tell you about it. So I'm fine. You know, just don't ask me shit. Don't ask me nothing right now. I'm fine. And she said, "When did you become such an asshole?" And man, that set me off. And this woman has never done anything to me, man, but loved me. She's like, we got married at 18 because I could not get enough of her love, of her time, of talking to her. And here I was, somebody I couldn't muster up a sentence more than one word. And so in that argument, I packed my bags and did what I knew how to do best, and that was run. So I went and stayed in a portable office building on property where my dad he had several properties, but I stayed in one. And I could just drink and do whatever I wanted. I was unfaithful to her. I was an alcoholic. And on a Sunday morning, a few days later, I knew everybody'd be in church. So I got up that morning, I put on my uniform, got in my car, and I went to do a 4-hour block of overtime, traffic enforcement. And I finished my 4 hours. I backed my patrol car into the parking lot of a old abandoned gas station just on the south side of town, put it in park, and I pulled my sidearm out, my Glock Model 22 40 caliber, left-handed holster, pulled it out, I put it right here, and I stopped. And I had this perspective of God that he was always waiting to mash this big red button or drop this hammer just to punish me. Like I just waiting. And so I yelled at him. I'm like, I don't know where you are, if you can hear me, but if you got a plan for my life, you can have it. Otherwise I'm out. Man, I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired of struggling. I'm tired of hurting. And I felt something happened in the patrol car in that moment that I'd never felt in church before. And it was a peace that come over me instantly. And the only way I can describe it is if you've ever seen the lake first thing in the morning and it's like glass. It was instant from like a raging storm to just perfect calm. It was like a complete, like I can't even put it into words how perfect it was. And if you've ever been trained to do a buddy drag, you get down and put your arms under their shoulders, like under their underarms, and you pull them like this, and you drag them out from danger, whether it's a fire or line of fire, whatever. You pull them safety, pull them to cover, concealment. I felt like this embrace of a perfect love just wrapped me like this, an embrace. And the closest thing I can compare it to is the embrace of my wife, the embrace of friends, of brothers. And, but like 1,000 times more perfect. And I sat there in that moment, like it wasn't like this, you couldn't hear like this heavenly choir singing hallelujah or nothing. It was just me in a patrol car, man. And just sitting there. And I had this realization of what was happening and what I could live with, like the peace and this love that I'd been searching for my whole life. And there was no fear. There was no punishment. There was no, I'm mad at you. There was no, look at all you've done and made a mess. It was none of that. It was just perfect. I was like, man, if I could take this to all my friends, all my brothers, if I could just find a way to tell this to them. But I left and I went and found my wife and I told her what happened. I don't cry a lot. I'm not very emotional, like expressing emotion, but I just boo-hooed, man. And I told her what happened. I told her about the gun to my head. I told her that I'd been thinking about that since I was a little boy. And I thought about ending it all multiple times because felt like I'd been better off never born, or people would be better off that I didn't exist, and all this other bull crap. It's all lies. And man, she didn't look up at me and say, you're such a mess. You know, you need help. She didn't look up at me and say, you're just a prick. She looked up at me and she said, babe, just come home. And it gives me chills to this day, man.
Yeah.
And that part made me cry yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of love we need, not just to experience for ourselves, but that's the kind of love we got to show. You know, we get lost in this journey of life, whether it's pain or business failure. Man, I've experienced financial failure multiple times. I've lost it all multiple times, and I've had 6 figures in the bank, and then I've needed 6 figures in a week. You know, there's been so many times I get up on a Monday and I'm like, man, I got a way to make like 10 grand this week. I got to find a way to do something. Like I got to do something. 3 kids in college, medical bills, no insurance, got to find a way. I've been so focused on a mission. I've never built a business. I've just got this ragtag mission of saving lives, or, you know, inspiring people to live on and to love again. But she said, come home. And so I stopped drinking. And that very night I started writing. It was things I've never published. It was just dumping all the junk that was in here and in here, just dumping it out. And shortly after the Ferguson riots, Ferguson, Missouri, I went home one night, and again, I yelled at God. I highly recommend you don't do it at all, ever. And I said, who is going to give us hope? Like the whole sentiment towards law enforcement was just the beginning of all the stuff that, you know, we've experienced over the past several years back in 2020, and just pure hatred. And I heard this little voice that said, write a book. I said, I've lost my mind. I was like, there's no way I'm writing a book. Absolutely not. Like, I'm not doing it. Like,
Right.
I'm having this internal argument. I'm like, I don't have a PhD. I'm not a chaplain. Nobody's going to listen to a freaking thing I got to say. So I wrote it, and it was about 25,000 words. I don't know. It was a little short devotional, and I self-published it. I figured it all out, like just figured it out. I figured out how to build a website, and I don't know, it was sold several thousand copies, digital
Well,
and paperback,
and that to
that
me,
opened the door.
I know you said, the first two books, you're like, I don't really acknowledge them, but that to me is the coolest one. I haven't read any of them, but man, the first one is, I don't even need to read the words, but for you to go figure it out and have the courage and all those things, it's like I admire the first one as much as I admire the best-selling
Now,
one, if that makes sense.
well, it did its job. I remember there was an officer who was shot and killed up in, I believe, South Carolina, and his team messaged me and said, "Hey, somebody bought these and give them to us, and we just want to let you know the amount of peace that it gave us." You remember I told you in the patrol car, I want to find a way to convey this peace to people. Like, I want you to find it for yourself, experience it for yourself. This love, man. Find it for yourself. Love is the most powerful force in all existence, you know? And, and so I was like, okay, well, I'm on to something, because people are reading it and they're responding. They're sending me messages. I'm getting correspondence from people, and it's good. And so I wrote this other one. It was like personal development, self-help stuff, and it was terrible, man. I'm going to rework that one day, but it's called Be Awakened. The second one was called Be Awakened. I knew you in 40 days, and it was, Lord
I
have
saw
mercy,
that one,
great,
and I was
great
like,
concept.
that sounds amazing.
Yeah,
It does.
don't buy it, bro, please.
Don't buy it,
And
bro.
it's not reverse psychology. Just begging you, don't judge me on the worst ones. But anyway, I started talking to literary agents and reaching out to publishers, and most of them were like, this is such a great concept. We love the heart and the work of what you're doing. It's just not for us, And one day I had this one literary agent that responded, and he said, "Adam, you don't need an agent for what you need to do. Call this publisher and tell them what you want to do, and tell them I told you to call them." And I called them, and I left a voicemail or answer machine or something, and forgot about it, because I'd been rejected so many freaking times. I'd just forget about it. Just leave a message and move on. One day I'm driving down West Main Street inside the Circle here in Dothan, Alabama. I'm heading westbound, and I got 2 emails through my website, and it was the acquisitions editor. And I called him, and he was like, "Dude, we have been trying to call you for 6 months about your car's warranty." He didn't say that. He was like, "We've been trying to offer you a book deal."
That was good. I just threw that in there.
He was like, we want to give you a book deal. He was like, "Nobody knows you. Like, we're not going to give you any money up front. We're not going to put your name on the front of the book." He said, "In fact, we don't want the one you've written. We don't want the 25,000 words. We want you to write a full, like 100,000, 105,000 word manuscript." And I'm like, "Dude, you are out of your mind. No way, dude." And we talked for a while, and I did it. And that little book has sold over 100,000 copies. So
he talked me into the warranty.
Yeah.
I bought the warranty.
that one, there's an audience of roughly 800,000 people for that book, because there's about 800,000 sworn peace officers in America. And that book has sold over 100,000 copies.
Wow.
And then I wrote one called Bulletproof Marriage. It's a 90-day devotion for first responder military couples. It was a finalist in 2020 for Best Christian Book of the Year, and got a lot of recognition. I actually narrated the audio book with the widow of American sniper Chris Kyle, Taya Kyle.
Wow.
And that's got me invited on Marcus Luttrell's podcast, Team Never Quit, and opened up a lot of doors, man. And they invited me to be a part of the speakers team. They got so many incredible people on that team. And I'm like, it's like the Avengers of speakers. And I'm on there. And I'm like this redneck from Alabama. I'm looking around like, what am I supposed to do, bro? And Marcus, he had me on the podcast, and we finished. He called me. He was like, "Dude, you look like you're supposed to be a bouncer in a honky tonk, bro." He's like, "You write books. It's the craziest thing in the world." So it's been fun, man. And you get to the point in the journey somewhere it's like, is it all over? And then you get these messages from people who read Unconquered or any of the other books on spiritual combat or the others, and they're like, "Hey, I just want to let you know, give me hope to live again." Like, you give me a reason to fight again. And, or the marriage book, like, I forget how many tens of thousands of marriages that have been impacted. Like, so many stories of people who had planned their divorce. Like, the divorce date is set, the hearing, whatever court date is set, and somebody challenges them to go through this 90-day marriage book. And they're together today. They're thriving.
Wow.
They're actually helping other couples.
Yeah.
And so it's a exponential impact that's beyond just the 250,000 book sales. And, yeah, I could have wrote some pretty cool books about true crime or fiction books or smut books, romance, whatever, and probably been sitting here on millions of dollars. But I think the most important thing we could ever do is do something to impact eternity for people, man, in a real way. Like, we're souls on a human journey. It's not the other way around. And we often focus so heavily on building our physical body or strengthening our mind, and we neglect our soul. And that's where all the good stuff comes from. And when you remove the barriers to the abundance that you find in your soul, when you remove that, and the soul begins to flourish, and you see it in all the other ways around you. And my job, or not my job, but my goal has never been like, I want to be a multimillionaire, which it needs to be. The goal has been, how can I help as many people as possible? Because I remember who I was in that patrol car. I remember searching for the resources. And then nothing against the chaplains and the docs and the shrinks and all that. It was nothing against them, but I wanted something from somebody who had been in my shoes, man. I wanted somebody to speak life into me that had been through hell. And so I started creating it. And, here we are, 10 years in, and I kind of wonder what's next. Have we reached the peak, or is there more? So the book I just finished is called Bulletproof Family. And it's a 90-day devotion to bring families back together. To promote harmony and unity and love in homes again, to challenge men to stand up and lead their families, to teach them the fundamental skills of what it means to be a man, if they have the boys, to serve their wives. We hear the phrase in Christianity, in Christian churches, husbands, serve your wife, or love your wife as Christ loves the church. And like, that sounds amazing. But what does that mean? And I think the clearest description of what that means was given to me by Marcus Luttrell standing in his kitchen one day. My wife and kids were swimming in the pool, and me and him were just chit-chatting. He was preparing a meal. He's a phenomenal chef. And he had a towel over his shoulder, man. This has been about 6 years ago. Towel over his shoulder. He looked at me. He said, hey, like, your wife doesn't need a warrior in the home. Looking around like, all right, bro, like, what? This is a giant of a man.
Right.
And I said, yeah, okay. He said, lay your arm or lay your gear down at the door, grab a towel and serve her. And he had this book, like a huge book. He was writing letters to his wife every day in this book, and on their anniversary, he'd give it to her. And I'm thinking, that's it, man. Like, it's not about me. It's not about ego. It's not about, hey, you're going to do what I want you to do, or how can I serve you? And so several years ago, I started asking my wife, and she probably gets aggravated and pissed off with it, but I asked her, like, how can I serve you best today? How can I love you best? And some days, you know what it is?
Leave her alone.
Hey, I need money to pay bills. I need you to find a way today for us to have groceries. I need you to find a way today to give us some time together away from all the stuff, So I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense at all or what, but I feel like I've been talking the whole time. I'll shut up. Sorry.
No, dude, I love it. The thing that came to mind the most is how you said in the beginning, how, am I qualified? I'm not this, whatever. And it's like, to me, people like you, I 100% agree. I grew up in a LDS, family and church and all that. And you'd have to go meet with the bishops, every year or whatever, and have a conversation and things like that. And my favorite bishops were the ones who have been there and done that. It's like a psychiatrist who read it in a book, or a doctor who read it in a book and is trying to tell you from that angle. It's like, I just never, I think, I don't, maybe it's just me, but I think the best teachers are those are the ones that have had the gun to their head and been in that
Mm-hmm.
position that can say, I'm all ears when somebody like that says, hey, this is what it's like to be unhappy and this is what the demons can be, than somebody that says, hey, I read, thousands of pages of books. And so I think you are absolutely the one qualified. And
Well,
I
I wanted
appreciate
to use
people
the
like you that
pain.
will open up.
Well, I want to use the pain for good. Like, what good is the pain if I don't learn from it? And what good is the pain, like, if I can't help somebody else find their way out of the darkness or out of the shadows of it, you know?
Well,
And
and so many give in,
yeah,
and that's, and there's, I would think there's probably more that give into that than come out the other side and, not only just survive, but use it for good, to come, I know I have lots of friends who have been suicidal, but they still battle that every day, which, I'm not saying you don't or anything like that, but
every day, man.
not any of them are writing books. Not any of them
Mhm.
are getting on podcasts. That's where it kind of separates, where it's like there's a handful that take those dark days and they say, not only am I going to survive, I'm going to, share this message. And that's so important for people to hear, because so many people think they're going through it alone, or I'm different, or this is different. And it's like, no, it can, I mean, there are differences, but there's
I was
similarities.
I was facing a really, really hard time recently, and stuff stacks up on you, man. I don't live a lavish lifestyle. We got a modest home. My wife and kids have a modest vehicle, and I have a vehicle I use to travel. And I was facing bankruptcy, and you're the first person I've ever talked about with this. And my wife went to leave. She went to go and take one of the kids to school or some. I don't know what she was doing. And she texted me, and I think I was in the shower, and I didn't respond because I was in the freaking shower, and I was getting ready to leave, go to the post office box or something, and so I walked out to my truck, and about the time I walked out, she had whipped back in the drive, and she said, "Come go with me." I said, I'm good. I got to go run some errands, go to the gym, post office, whatever. And she said, Are you okay? Are you good? And I looked at her and I was like, oh crap, she thinks I'm gonna hurt myself. Like, cause I've got all the ingredients, like statistical case. And I said, let me tell you something. I said, I could lose every bit of this shit. I said, as long as you by my side, I said, I can fight. You give me a reason to fight. I fight for you if I can't fight for myself. I'll fight for you. I'll fight for these kids until I got nothing left and no more air in my lungs. I'll fight. I said, and if you leave me, I'm still going to fight. I said, you don't have to worry about me hurting myself. I said, I battled that. I've battled it since I was a kid. I said, I'm facing the greatest freaking challenge of my life, but I don't look at it as like I'm done. I look at it as this is the greatest opportunity I've ever faced in my life, because one day I'll get to stand on stage and talk about it. And I feel like when she spoke up and said that, like, we'd never really talked about it since that day, the patrol car. And but for her to recognize it and care enough to come back, because you can talk about this stuff, man, and like it ain't sexy. Like, this ain't gonna get me on billboards and the top notch pot. Like, I'm not gonna probably get on Sean Ryan's show and get to talk about the spiritual side of this stuff, man. But it needs to be talked about. It needs to be talked about because there's so many freaking people that like they fill the churches on Sundays, bro. Like, they sit in the churches and they sing the pretty songs and they listen to the pretty sermons and they wear the pretty clothes. But on Sunday night, they're drowning in a bottle because they're ready to end it all. They're sitting there and they planned it. They've got the gun. They've tasted the end of the barrel in their mouth and they toyed with it. They've tied the noose and the freaking rope, and they've done all these things. And they've got faith, but they've lost all hope. And they need somebody that's going to stand up and tell them the freaking truth. And the truth is, those lies that you're better off gone, or everybody be better off without you, or that the struggle is going to end when you go. No, it's not. It's just going to be passed on. Like, if I did it that day, all the challenges are going to be on her.
Amen.
And I don't want her to do it. I don't want her to deal with that. So I will fight. And like, you're going to have to kill me to take me out. I mean, I'm part of a freaking team called Team Never Quit, bro. Like, I'm stubborn. Before I became a cop, I was an easy quitter, man. I was an easy quitter. And doing damn flutter kicks in a graveyard in Mobile, Alabama in 2010, there was a sergeant that drilled it into us that you do not give up. But there's a flip coin to that too. There's like another side of the coin to that. Father's Day, 20, I think it was 2018 or 2019. My wife and kids got me on a Sunday morning and took me to my favorite spot, Inlet Beach, just east of Rosemary Beach.
Okay.
Right there close to 38.
Okay.
We get down there and there's double red flags. Double red flags, bro, means stay out of the water.
Yeah. They had them when I was there, and I didn't know that.
I didn't stay out of the water.
I was wondering what does that mean?
I grabbed the inner tube and I went out chest deep. And I'm out there chilling. And about to my, 10 o'clock. Yeah, should be about my 10 o'clock, probably, I don't know, 20 yards from me. There's this lady who her head's coming up out of the water. She's gasping for air, and she goes back under. She comes back and does it again. I'm like, oh shit, she's drowning. She's in stress. I make my way over at this angle about 10 o'clock. I make my way to her best I can, get over to her. And I'm like, give her my inner tube. About the time I get to her and give her the inner tube, this other guy makes, and I find out later, that's her husband. They're from Louisiana. And I give her the inner tube and watch them as they make their way to shore, and I'm sitting there just treading water. I'm not like a great swimmer at all, bro. Like I can navigate swimming in a pool, but the ocean's a different beast. And so I'm navigating, I'm just treading water and watching them. And I didn't realize I'm being pulled further out as I'm treading water. So I start to swim, make my way back to the beach. And as I do, I'm going backwards. Well, you're not in a pool, like the ocean's, like the water is smashing me in the face, and I'm starting to panic because I'm swimming as hard as I can, and I'm being pulled out further and further and further. It's not going to pull you out into the depths of the ocean, but it'll kill you. Like 100%. Many people have drowned and died in that spot doing the exact thing I was doing that day.
Absolutely. That's why it's double flag.
That's right. And so this little, I'm struggling. Like my heart is beating so hard, I feel it right here. And I can glance up every once in a while, and I can see my wife and kids on the beach doing this number, and I see these other assholes with their phones out recording. And this little voice clicked inside my head, and it was like, relax. I'm fighting for my freaking life. This is not the time to relax, man. And so I relaxed, and I flipped up on my back, and I knew how to float on my back. So I tie my breath. Like this has all happened like this. Mm-hmm. And so I flipped up on my back and I tie my breath in between the waves, and the current carried me to shore, way down from where my wife and kids were, because, make your way down. And I learned something. I learned that sometimes the best thing you can do in the middle of a battle is not quit, but rest, relax. Like, don't resist the flow where it's trying to take you. It'll take you. It'll take you to safety. It'll take you to where you need to be. It may not be where you thought you were going to go, but you're going to go. You're going to get there. And so in the midst of these greatest freaking challenges I've ever faced in my entire life, relax. I take more naps. I go for walks. I say, you know what? Let's go to the beach. Freaking $35 worth of fuel in the Jeep. Grab some sandwiches, grab some fruit, grab some water. Let's go sit on the beach. Let's just go chill. And I can't explain it, but every time I do, hey man, we need you to come speak. What's it going to take to have you come? Hey dude, I'm ready for you to help me with my book. Hey, so-and-so referred you for a website. Hey, we got a donation for your nonprofit. How do we get that to you? Hey, I need to order 500 copies of your book. Hey, I need to order 900 copies of your book. Whatever it is, like it happens. And so learning that the resistance that we deal with is mostly in here. That was just a physical manifestation of the resistance that I've been playing here in my heart, in my soul. And when we stop resisting the direction God's taking us, it brings us to a place that is more beautiful than we could have ever created on our own. And read those stupid signs. Like when you go to the beach and it'll tell you, like, I never study those signs. I look at them every time now. And if it's a double red flag, I'm not getting it. Now they enforce, like, they will write you a ticket.
Yeah, I was out.
Like,
They had it, and I was out in the water with my boys. I thought I didn't know it's a law. So I went out like 10,
caution.
and I see the flags, and I'm like, it's dangerous. So I'm just gonna go out 10 feet, and just kind of get wet. And a foiler comes up with a megaphone thing, and he's like, "Get out of the water!" And I'm like, "Sorry,
bro.
we're from Utah. We're from Utah." And we walked up to him. I'm like, and he says, "Hey, I can give you a $400 ticket for stepping into the ocean." And I was like, "We're out."
They don't play about that. So I write about that in Unconquered. It's called The Significance of Surrender, which really should have been more about letting go. And that's what it's about, is letting go. And, it's counterintuitive when you're trained to never quit in a physical battle. Like if you're in a ground fight, like I had a dude try to take my gun off my belt trying to arrest him. And you don't quit that fight. Like, I'm not going to lose. Like, I will not lose. I don't give a damn how good you are, how strong you are. I will win. And that's just the mentality you got to have.
Yeah. They say, like, it's not like, what tool you have. It's your a desire to live that'll get you through any kind of like situation.
Yeah, you told me that in your school, your shooting school. It's not necessarily your ability or use of the gun. It's your desire to live that will ultimately determine who wins.
You gotta, and I'd lost that leading up to sitting in a patrol car. I had lost the desire to live. Like, I desired to die more than I wanted to live. But in that Father's Day at the beach, I found it was a demonstration that, oh yeah, like, you've been going through this for 4 or 5 years, but you really want to live now, don't you? Because otherwise you'd have kept trying to do it your own way.
Yeah.
And so, but trauma, well, you call it trauma or call it pain or mistakes or bad decisions, whatever you've been through. Like, I'm not trying to minimize it, but there's a lot of stuff. It's complex. It affects everything around you and you don't even know it. Like, I was writing this freaking book. January of, it had to be turned in March of 22, and it was released in April of 23. So it would have been in January 22. I was writing this book, and my wife Amber comes up to me. She says, "Hey, I need you to do me a favor, please, if you don't mind." I'm thinking, what honeydew did I forget?
Take the garbage out, right?
Yeah, stupid stuff, right? I'll do it. And she was like, "I need you to talk to somebody." She's like, "You got this whole thing. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. And it's wreaking havoc on your life and you can't even see it." And that's what pain does. That's what our limiting beliefs, whatever you want to call it, that's what it does. And the thing is, like, you're going to make mistakes. Okay. You're going to fail. You're going to fall flat on your face. What is going to separate you from the absolute greatest people of all time is how you respond the moment you hit the ground. Are you going to stay there? Or are you going to get back up and get back in the saddle and ride again? Are you going to stay there? So when she told me to talk to somebody, man, I've been going all across the country telling my story and telling people, hey, you need help, reach out and talk to somebody, bro. Call me. I'll talk to you. I don't care. I'm here for you. 2:00 in the morning. I may have to call you back, but I'll call you. So I called a buddy of mine. I told him what's up, and he put me on the phone with somebody, and she was psychologist, whatever. She specialized in something called EMDR. So we went through a few sessions of EMDR. Man, it was life changing. You know what I learned through EMDR? I learned that my greatest nemesis that I've battled since I was a little boy, fat, chubby little boy, like Hawaiian blonde hair and blue eyes. My greatest nemesis since the freaking monster tried to hurt me when I was a little boy has been fear. I was a cop, man. I would run into the most dangerous places. Like, I had this phrase, I'm not going to share it with you, but it was F it. I'd had this phrase whenever I get to the point, like I'm on the threshold, I got to handle business. Got to have a flip the switch, man. Flip the switch. Let's roll. And I would do it. But when it came to dealing with the stuff here, I'm good, bro. I'm good. I got this. I got this. That's the most dangerous phrase you could ever repeat to yourself is I've got this, when you know for a fact that you don't have it. And you
100%.
know that you're spiraling out of control, and it is going to lead to devastation if you don't stay. You can reverse it all. You can change course and you can back it all up and you can fix it all, but you're going to have to deal with it. You got to address it. And, whatever that is, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is, how bad it is, rip the Band-Aid off. I was a little kid. Guide wires like come off the power lines. They have the plastic around them, and I was told, don't play on this side of the yard. You're going to get hurt. Don't play on this side of the yard. Well, I went and played over there and, got around that stupid wire. The plastic wasn't around it. Gashed my arm open. Right there, the scar, gashed it open on that guide wire. And it was bad. Like it needed stitches, but I didn't want to tell nobody because I didn't want to get a whooping for being somewhere I wasn't supposed to be. So I went, I got some paper towels and napkins and duct tape and wrapped that junk up, man.
Oh man.
And, it got terribly infected and I had to go to the doctor anyway. And I still got in trouble. And I think that's why I like this correlation in my brain. I ain't gonna speak for everybody, but this correlation in my brain was, man, if I tell my wife what I'm dealing with, if I tell my brother what I'm dealing with, if I talk about what I'm dealing with, people are going to be like, you stupid idiot, you shouldn't have been there anyway. Like, look, you should have done this instead. Like, you shouldn't have been here. You should have known better, man. And that's not the voice of love. That's not the way it is at all. When we treat each other with compassion, with empathy, with kindness, and with love, we have far greater power and potential to change the world around us than we ever could with any other weapon in the world. Yeah, there's times you need to whoop somebody's ass. Like there's certain times that you need to grab your firearm and you need to handle business. If somebody's coming through these doors and they're threatening to harm my family and my children, I'm not going to meet them with love and compassion.
Right.
I'm going to meet them with absolute blunt force trauma.
Yeah.
I'm going to annihilate you.
Yeah.
And then I'll pray for you at the end.
Right.
And
but I'm going to destroy you. Yeah. But when somebody's hurting, like if you have a hurting dog, if you have a wounded dog, you're going to walk up to that dog and you're going to be gentle with it.
You're going to try
You
to
don't
fix
want it to
it.
bite you. Yeah,
You
you
wanna
don't want it
help
to
it.
bite you.
Mhm.
I want to help you.
Mhm.
But we go up to our brothers, we go up to our friends, we go up to each other, we treat each other like we're throwaway, trash. Instead of, hey, dude, let's go out to lunch. Let's spend some time together. I'll listen to you at 2:00 in the morning. I don't give a damn. I'll listen to you for hours. I got you. I may not know how to fix it, but the ministry of presence is the most underrated ministry on the planet. Sometimes you just need somebody to sit with you,
Yep.
and that's what I try to do through Unconquered. I try to just be the one that sits with you. I'll sit with you, man, because I know what it's like to sit in that patrol car by yourself and at 2:00 in the morning.
I love it, man. Like I said, I could talk to you all day, and we're getting onto our time here. Yeah, there's a
way
lot.
too much of your time.
No, dude. I want to talk after we get off and see if there's something we can do together. Like you said, do you hunt at all? Have you?
When
hunted?
I have time, bro.
Are you against it?
No, heck no, I'm not against it. No,
All right, good,
absolutely
good.
not.
Okay, good. Yeah, because we do a lot of these things we do are kind of an invite only, just a circle of people that we want to be with. I have a couple of those a year that
Nice.
are just for me, and I'd like to have you come out on one and spend some more time with you. And so
That would
I
be
love your
fun.
story. Like I said, it has impacted me, and I know people listening to this. I hope you, and I believe you, will continue to do this. I hope this isn't the end, the top, I hope you have more books in you. I'm going to start lining them up and reading them. And I just appreciate your time, man. I appreciate you being so raw and honest. I think more men need to be that way. I'll try to get in touch with Ryan Mickler and have you get on his as well.
Man, that'd be incredible. I'm honored to be here with you today. If I may leave one parting word, and I'll make this very brief.
To. For sure. No, you're good.
Make this very brief. You got to have a will. You got to have the willpower to get up one more time. and I don't want to sound cliche. Like, I don't talk on this stuff from theory. This is all my life experience. Okay. I'm talking every possible scenario you could find when it comes to marriage or finances or mental health or career or whatever, health, you name it. I've been 36% body fat. I've been down to 11%. I've been to the point I couldn't do 10 push-ups, deadlift 545 pounds. That's not crazy cool, but I mean, it's better than what I was. I've been at the bottom of the barrel for my own self. My challenge to you, my encouragement to you today is you got to find that willpower down in your belly, down in your soul. And if you can't fight for yourself, then look into the eyes of the people you love and those who love you and fight for them. You got to find somebody that's going to be your reason to keep fighting. And you got to develop an uncommon resolve that's going to keep you getting back up one more time, because this life will beat you down. Don't be the one that beats yourself down. Get up. You can win, man. You've got so much potential inside of you. You've got some great, absolute wonderful stuff inside of you, and this world needs to know about it. But start with the people you love and get up and fight
Amen.
again.
Amen. And that's the thing is, from the 3 or 4 people that I've interviewed that have actually had the gun to their head, it is, and to see them come out the other side, it's like, I hope the people listening can see it is not only possible, not only to survive, but to thrive.
It is.
Like you
That's
said,
the goal.
it's from the similarities that I've drawn from the few of you, it is just a resolve to never quit, to not go to that. And like you said, I think the real thing for people to understand is it can be, when my dad passed away and my mom was pregnant with me, she said she would have taken her life if she didn't have me in her. And she had 2 other kids. She just is like, they were together since the 7th grade, childhood sweethearts, all that. And she says she remembers laying there in bed looking at the clock thinking, I have to get through this minute.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to get through that minute.
Yeah.
And it's like, when I hear stuff like that, it's like, it's not, I got to get through this day or this week. It's like, I have to get through this minute and that minute. And that's how raw it can get. That's how dark it can go.
I've learned so much from the Army Rangers, the Green Berets, the Navy SEALs and Black Ops, all these incredible human beings that I've been surrounded with. And one of them talks about just making it to the next meal. Mm-hmm. And I jokingly, like in the South, I'm sure it's like that everywhere else, but like there's days you live like, hey, what are we having for lunch?
All you gotta do is wake up.
I gained 5 pounds. I've gained 5 pounds going through breakfast. The South.
Suffer.
Just
eat
make
lunch.
it through today.
Yeah.
Like, just make it through today.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, what do I got to do? Well, tomorrow we got to have this, but no, just make it through today. What do you got to do today?
Yep.
What do you got to do right now? What's the most urgent thing you got to do? So managing time and getting through it that second at a time, minute at a time, hour at a time, day at a time. Do what you got to do. Earn the pillow tonight. Just get to the pillow tonight. And then start your day with gratitude, end your day with gratitude. Truly a life-changing practice if you'll start practicing it. Gratitude is so freaking powerful, man. And when I started writing that stuff down, what I'm grateful for in the morning, what I'm grateful for at night, who I'm grateful for, man, it changes everything. It changes everything. So thank you for having me on. I could talk to you all day.
Me too, man. Me too. I love you. I love your story. I appreciate everything.
Thank you.
How do people reach you, Adam? What's the best way for people
Best way, go to the website, theadamdavis.com, theadamdavis.com, or find me on social media, the official Adam Davis on Facebook or official Adam Davis on Instagram. I'd love to connect with all of you. I'd love to hear from you.
I appreciate you, brother. Again, the most valuable thing we have is our time. I sincerely appreciate this, time of yours. And
thank you.
I'm going to stop this. All right. So there you have it. My conversation with Adam Davis, absolutely amazing individual. I love how raw he got, how in depth he went into some of the struggles that he has faced. I've always said that I believe the best mentors and coaches out there are the ones who have been there and done that personally. You can read a book, you can, watch the movie or watch the documentary and try to regurgitate it, but to actually be in the depths of some of these things and to survive it and come out and be able to teach people what you went through, what you felt, I think you get a lot better experience from those types of mentors and a lot more information. So I appreciate Adam Davis being so open to share his story. Again, you can go check out his 10, 11 books. The new one out is called The Unconquered Code. I'm going to check it out. I'm excited to get that. And again, you can find Adam Davis at theadamdavis.com, his website, Adam Davis on Instagram, social media, everything like that. And again, thank you for being on, Adam, and appreciate your time. Thank you for listening to the M42 Adventures Podcast. Again, I appreciate you. We are growing. We are expanding. We are, doing a lot of cool things here. And I sincerely appreciate you being along for the ride and supporting us. Hope you have a great weekend and go out and do something fun.